Wow, what an intro, guys. Good morning. Welcome to day number 2 of Token2049. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Over the next couple of minutes, we're going to talk about the entire stablecoin universe, what's happening, not only with USDC and Circle, but really across the ecosystem. So a lot of exciting topics to cover with you all today. And of course, this is possible because I'm joined by the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Circle, Jeremy Allaire. Jeremy, great to have you with us.
Thanks.
By the way, fun fact about Jeremy, many of you know him as the CEO of Circle, but he has a hidden talent, which is he's an avid beatboxer. So here we go, the talent, everybody in crypto has a special talent stuff we find out about. Jeremy, great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Before we start a conversation, maybe can you give us an update or where things are right now with Circle, but especially with USDC? I just saw you guys cross the 30 billion mark, but maybe give us a bit of a snapshot of where things are.
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of different things. I mean, first is USDC has been growing a lot over the past quarter or two, and growing in terms of absolute market share. But I think some of the biggest things are we've just been continually improving the fundamental infrastructure of this. I think one of the advantages that we have and have had historically is that we've always issued USDC under a regulatory framework, and we're now seeing essentially stablecoin rules coming into place all around the world. And alongside that, that's enabling us to really expand the market infrastructure that supports USDC. So we've brought online essentially local banking infrastructure in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in the EU. We're in the process of rolling it out natively in Brazil and Mexico, Japan, ultimately in the region here and other places. And the key thing for us is we want to make sure that at a kind of wholesale level that it's very, very easy to create and redeem USDC as quickly as possible, as capitally efficiently as possible. So we've been building out that kind of global banking infrastructure, working with dozens of banks who are trying to support the growth of this ecosystem. The other is just advancing the technology of the protocol itself. So we think about what we do is operating a stablecoin network, and that network includes the protocols. Those protocols now exist on 16 blockchain networks. We're continually improving those protocols to make them more efficient, to add new features. We launched a cross-chain transfer protocol, which enables for teleporting USDC safely across these different ecosystems, which is really significant. And so we're making that infrastructure faster and easier to use, and then working with developers in hundreds of countries now who are building on top of those protocols and building applications, utilities, and other things to help grow the stablecoin network.
When you mention these 16 different protocols, I mean, when you look at 5 years down the line, do you think there'll be consolidation, or it's a way for Circle to hedge its bets, if you want, or do you believe actually this is just going to continue to grow as the Web3 ecosystem grows?
So, my background is in internet infrastructure software. So I got started building web programming languages, virtual machines, application infrastructure, and have worked in a lot of different parts of the stack of internet infrastructure. And my general view is that blockchains are a new form of distributed internet operating system, and effectively there is a lot of competition for those operating systems, trying to attract developers and applications and the like. But I think increasingly, right, you're seeing the layering model as something that is relevant. And as we all know, right, the trade-offs in terms of performance, security, privacy, other things, they're not perfect trade-offs. I mean, there are people who I think believe that they can meet the scale needs of every application, every user on a single layer. I think the layered model is going to continue to grow. I think you'll see more and more. I think take, for example, if you're a giant consumer scale company in India and you want to use digital tokens as a mechanism for your end users,
yep.
and you're going to be minting and managing the life cycle of these digital tokens, and you ultimately need those to be interoperable and portable with the global internet. you're very likely going to do what people might call an app chain or a layer 3, or you're going to create your own kind of compute space, your own store of data and memory, and you're going to kind of hive it off. Just like in Amazon, we have virtual private clouds. Like everyone doesn't stick all their stuff in one cloud. You have VPCs, and you want to be able to hive off your own data, your own compute, your own network perimeter, et cetera. There's going to be these kinds of scaling models as well. And so there's a lot of really good competition in that infrastructure area.
And on this point, you mentioned India right now. When, again, 5 years down the line, do you believe the majority of the activity you'll see on this kind of stuff will be in emerging markets? I mean, if you look at today, obviously we have a problem with remittances, we have a problem when it comes to cross-border transactions, but when it comes to within a country, most transfers are working fine. On what you just mentioned on the stack, for example, do you believe there'll be a faster acceleration adoption in EM, emerging markets, compared to the developed world?
So I guess my view is that we're really just in the early stages of the development of the internet financial system. And we're talking about today it's a tiny fraction of the current scale of the global financial system. But the internet financial system, I believe, ultimately will increase global economic output. We should see an acceleration in economic output in the world because of the internet financial system and what it allows for. So when you think about the market today, the market for existing forms of electronic money, just fiat electronic money, is about $100 trillion. And so, clearly, just stablecoins themselves have significant room to grow. But then the intermediation that goes on, that's involved in actual economic output, so credit intermediation, time value of money intermediation. I think more and more of that will move into this on-chain world as well. But I don't think the right question is necessarily, is it emerging markets versus developed markets? Like, the internet is awesome in every country in the world, okay? Like, internet communications platforms are awesome in every country in the world.
Yeah.
The web is awesome in every country in the world. Meaning these general purpose infrastructures achieve scale, and they deliver 10x or 100x better utility than their predecessors. Like, there was a time when, I could make a free long distance telephone call in the United States. Well, why would I need voice over IP or whatever? Is that the point is that a model of money where the marginal cost of transacting goes to zero, and where money itself becomes a programmable, composable form of data, an object on the internet, unlocks utility in a way that's never existed before. And that's going to be hugely valuable in the biggest capital markets in the world. It's going to be hugely valuable for the biggest corporations in the world, in developed markets, and it's going to be hugely valuable in international markets. That's not to say that there aren't going to be use cases that achieve scale first in certain places. So yes, we are seeing dramatic amounts of activity happening in cross-border applications of stablecoins today. That's like a very significant growth driver. But I think when you step back and you think about the building blocks of the internet financial system and what that represents, to me, that's global scale and will touch every major market.
But on this point, Jeremy, so when we talk about the internet financial system, right? If we look today at the global crypto, let's say the stablecoin ecosystem, right? What do you think that people want the regulated USD stablecoin to use? For example, if we look at right now, Tether obviously is the biggest by market cap, right? In this internet of like this new financial system that's being developed, what do you think people are looking for, right?
Well, I think look, in an early stage market, which is sort of dominated by like offshore unregulated exchanges, and it's mostly about speculating on different things, right? That's one thing. Okay. The internet financial system is clearly about actual economic activity. So if we want this to be useful, it has to be about actual economic activity. And that means about people who are investing, saving, businesses that are needing credit, that are building things, that are hiring people, actually producing goods and services. That's the real economy. So if we want the internet financial system to be used in the real economy, not just for speculating on memes, like we have to have digital currency, fiat stablecoins that are treated as real money, that are cash equivalent, so that if you're a financial institution, you can take this and you can hold it as collateral.
Yeah.
If you're and settlement. If you're a corporation, you know what this is. Your accounting firm, you're formerly from a large Big Four universe, right? So an accounting firm can say, this is a cash equivalent instrument. I can treat it this way. I can report it this way. The entirety of this, we have to have legally defined forms of stablecoins, and that's what's happening around the world, by the way, which is great. Once you have these defined as like a new form of legal electronic money instrument, then actually this can take hold at scale for real economic activity. And so that's really key. We have to have that. If we don't have that, this is not going to take hold as the basis of the internet financial system. And so that's a really, really key piece.
And do you believe the US dollar, like USDC, or let's say, right now we look at the global stablecoin ecosystem, US dollar, it's all US dollar denominated for a vast, vast majority of it, right? It's very interesting because, as you mentioned, you're going to different countries. If you're a central banker of an emerging country, one of the risks you have in a way is that the economy becomes dollarized if you're doing a bad job, which is in a way people have the option to switch to dollars or other currencies and we're seeing this from anywhere from Nigeria to Turkey to Argentina and so on and so forth, right? How do you balance that from your perspective when you're going to these different markets saying, hey, we have a solution, right now it's a US dollar based one, and versus the country's own central bank from a policy making where they want to have their own currency and control it? Because this could accelerate the dollarization by the stablecoin usage.
Well, the internet has created these extraordinarily powerful utilities that exist just using software that anyone who has a device can connect to. And people around the world have sort of said, hey, I like this.
Yeah.
WhatsApp or whatever example you want to use, the ability to freely publish information to any person anywhere. Like, there's sort of these super scale things that the internet has produced that in most societies, people like really desire, and then it's hard for the governments to put the genie back in the bottle on those. Now, money, everyone says money is different and so on. We have a challenge, right? Part of the challenge is that the vast majority of governments in the world are they're kind of bankrupt, right? Meaning they're in debt, they're massively in debt, they're trying to monetize that debt. We have huge issues with fiscal discipline. It's a strong reason why non-sovereign digital commodity money like Bitcoin is so attractive, is in the face of that. But it does, the combination of sort of internet scale financial utility based on things like digital dollars or digital euros, and effectively like this very, very high utility value that will come from those, combined with the fiscal and monetary challenges that face many, many countries, I do think that there's something brewing there. It's going to be complicated, and it's not clear exactly how that will get resolved. But I do believe that individuals and firms will be able to vote with their sort of software products, what economic system they want to participate in, and it's going to involve, it's going to be a complex issue for a lot of jurisdictions.
Well, you can argue it's happening right now with many countries. I mean, look at Turkey, where basically it's run on stablecoins now for big chunks of the economy. One thing as well on this point, which I think is interesting, like you guys have done a pretty good job on the DeFi space, for example. I see so many DeFi protocols now where the USDC plays a pretty interesting role as well. When you look at the future of the stablecoin ecosystem, we've had obviously some incidents last year with UST. Now there's some interesting thing with Athena and other projects going on. How do you find the future of stablecoin issuers? Do you believe in 5, 10, 15 years in this new model that we go in, it'll be centralized companies will be running it, or it'll be more the next algorithmic stablecoin of this, a TINA or a version of a TINA that you'll see in the future?
Yeah, I guess I think if we're talking about sort of what's going to be used for real economic activity, that is going to be used by households and firms and financial institutions, you're going to need to have legal forms of digital currency money. And those are going to be regulated issuers. And those are going to be fully reserved. So you're going to have a full reserve financial system, not a fractional reserve financial system. And you're going to have strong supervision around those. And I think that those are going to achieve fairly large scale. Those will grow into the trillions of dollars in circulation. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be other experiments in stable value tokens. There are, obviously. There are all, I mean, look, synthetic derivatives that attempt to achieve a peg that provides some underlying basket of risk management and yield, like that's a separate thing. So synthetic securities and derivatives that are designed to generate and pay yield, those are other types of financial products. So those types of financial products will get regulated differently. They will not be regulated as payment systems. General society will not depend on those as payment systems. The corporations, financial institutions will not hold those on their balance sheets as collateral. But people who are, are trading, investing, seeking yield, who are, risk managing, are very likely going to purchase securities and derivatives that, manage their risk and their yield. So securities and derivatives play a huge role, and I think that synthetic dollars that are securities and derivatives are going to continue to grow. How those are regulated is an open question, right? I mean, I think we're seeing enforcement around these historically. So I think, how do you register these? How do you regulate these? How do people access those?
Or you let code regulate it in a way.
Well, yes. I think, the whole code is speech. It isn't going to work for everything. Like, it doesn't work for AI. Like, we're going to regulate what AIs get produced. So I think it's more complicated than that.
So Jeremy, we have 60 seconds left. My bell is here. I'm going to ask you quick questions. I need a 1 or 2 word answers, and we're going to kick it off from there. You ready?
Sure.
What is the biggest risk we're facing as a crypto ecosystem for the next 3 years?
One more time.
What is the biggest risk we're facing as a crypto ecosystem for the next 3 years?
The biggest risk that we're facing for the next 2 years is catastrophic failures continue with problematic companies and projects.
In crypto. If you could go back to school today, what is the one course you would study that you wish you had studied before?
Synthetic biology.
Wow, interesting. What is the best advice you ever received?
If you're stressed, take 3 deep breaths.
If you could hold one crypto asset for the next 10 years, not USDC, what would you hold?
I don't like those questions.
If you could go back in time, any time in history, what time would you want to go back?
That's a great question. I think I'd like to go back to the Enlightenment.
Enlightenment. Wow,
yeah.
Interesting. And last question, Jeremy, to finish it off. Typical question, if you could have lunch or dinner with one person, dead or alive, lunch or dinner, one person, dead or alive, who would you have lunch or dinner with?
Probably an ancient relative of mine that I can't name right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Allaire, CEO of Circle. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Good job.